Hi guys and welcome to the channel. Today we listen to a disturbing, true Reddit story. Sit back, relax, pop on your headphones and enjoy. Story title: Haunted House in London. A long story, but hopefully interesting. Been sharing this true story with friends for years. Always been told it's interesting. Thought I'd share it here. So I've never been the kind of person to believe in ghosts. I'm a non-religious guy, but I've seen some odd things in my 26 years, but nothing to convince me 100% that the paranormal is legit. However, I have one interesting experience that tends to get interest and honestly has made me question my stance on the paranormal ever since. About 6 years ago, I was a 20-year-old student living in London. My latest flat contract had run out and I needed a place to live ASAP. I had very little money and felt guilty needing my parents to be a guarantor. So, as any broke Londoner would do, I Googled the cheapest place possible, somewhere I could move into that next day. That's how last minute this was. I was fortunate, or in actual fact, misfortunate, to find a place available to move in that day. Contract signed, I had a place to live. I moved into this detached house with all my stuff the following day. It was a dirty house, but the flat occupants were all 20-30-year-olds, 4 of them, and very friendly. The area was quiet, and I felt reasonably comfortable. Weird noises and objects moving. This house was always damp and cold. It was autumn, so it's not surprising, but it was always an unpleasant atmosphere. The garden was overgrown and creepy. The windows that faced it were scratched, cracked, and looked very dirty. The hallway's light didn't work, so the entire interior of the living room and hallways connecting to rooms were pitch black at night. The bathroom was just something else. On my first night after speaking to one of my new flatmates, I was told that they have all experienced weird noises, especially scratching on the blackened window in the bathroom. I laughed this off as nonsense. Probably a tree brushing it when it gets windy outside. So after a couple of weeks, I finally started noticing weird occurrences in the building. My room's window faced the driveway, and I like to keep my curtains closed just because it was west-facing room, and I didn't like the sunlight pouring in and blinding me every day. So I would close the curtains in the morning, head to class, come home and find the curtains open more than halfway. This happened every day. In fact, I could come home from class, close them again, go out to work, see friends, and come home to open curtains. Yet when I was in the room for hours on end, they never moved when closed. Bit weird. My windows were closed, locked, and so was the bedroom door when I was not. There I was the only one with a key, I hope. Also above me was an attic. No one lived up there. It was a locked storage room, I'm guessing. But at night I could hear what sounded like foot stomping. 2 people walking around, kids running, and sometimes whispers. Bit freaky, but I thought maybe someone in the house had access to this room and was using it at night, for who knows what. But no one was up there. The room was locked. I would sometimes at night go up the stairs to the door and try and get in to see who the hell was in there. But no luck, never saw anything, but could always hear these footsteps. This part is relevant later on. One of my flatmates was a very religious man. I could hear him pray 5 times in a day and was always very friendly and open to talk his faith and to listen to me stress about the awful state of the house. But he himself didn't hear or notice anything weird other than the unhygienic state of the place. He decided at one point head home to Algeria for a few months with his room locked. New flatmate. After 6 to 7 weeks of living there, one of the other occupants moved out, and a room was available there. I told a friend of mine that was as desperate as I was weeks prior. He moved in within a few days. And things were great. We worked and went to the same uni, so it was cool hanging out with a friend. I told him the stories. Due his religious beliefs, he wasn't a believer in ghosts, and like me, wasn't fazed by the stories. But he began to notice things too. The same stomping noises upstairs, the scratching windows, my curtains opening on their own. He felt like he was being watched all the time. He noticed the shed in the garden had a broken panel, and could easily imagine someone being inside, sometimes watching us in the kitchen when we made food. Routine pest control opened the shed during a visit one day and found half a dozen dead rats and a pile of hollowed-out bees in there. Creepy, but no monsters? My friend and I were eating dinner after work in the kitchen one night. I was facing him and the door to the hallway, whilst he was facing myself and the sliding glass door that gave access to the overgrown jungle garden behind. I remember seeing him turn pale, jump to his feet and ask me in a very frightened tone, "Can you come to my room?" I laughed and asked why. He said, "Seriously, can you please just come to my fucking room? Please, not a joke." He then bolted to his room like he was running away. I finished my sandwich with the last bite, didn't even think to turn around to see what he was so spooked about. Got to his room, he locked the door, sat on his bed, and turned on his PlayStation. After a few minutes, he calmed down, and as he started playing, he told me he saw something in the garden, a woman in a white dress. She walked across the garden half a meter from the glass. She almost floated past, and then she vanished. He kept saying, "We have to leave, we have to leave," and that noises were one thing, but when you see something, everything changes. My room scarred him and everyone else the most. Another flatmate told us they thought they'd seen me in my room peering at them on the driveway through a 20 centimeters gap in my curtains one night. They said they saw a shape of a person's head, but I wasn't there that night or on any of those occasions mentioned, and I certainly don't peer at people through my window. Things get worse. 2 nights after the kitchen incident, I'm woken up at around 3-4 a.m. in the morning. My friend is banging on my door, and he pitch blackness of the hallway. I open it, and he comes in shaking with fear, saying his bed was vibrating and moving, and he can't stay here any longer. The next day, he speaks to a friend, has a place to stay, so packs up most of his stuff and is gone. Within a few days, another person left, a little creeped out, but mostly annoyed with the poor state of the house. At this point, we're, the last remaining occupants, are all looking for alternative living arrangements. Remember the religious guy that went back to Algeria? He's been gone for months now and hasn't returned. The landlord makes a visit one day, and as he has a spare key, decides to inspect the room to make sure it's all okay. So he opens it up and we go in. Wow, his room was amazing. It was warm, cozy, no damp or cold. It was honestly like a different house. It was nice. My last night there, I decided to move in with my partner, who had avoided this house the entire time I'd lived there, maybe visiting once or twice. She hated it, hated being there, and always felt uncomfortable. On my last night, I again heard weird noises, but this time in the hall, I was aware that I was home alone that night, as the only other flatmate left was on holiday, vacation. It was, as was always, very dark when I opened the door. No one there. I walked into the living room, and the window at the back that faced the side of the house was making weird scratching noises. I needed to use the bathroom, and as a necessity, I had to carry a torch to do the job during these hours. I walk into the bathroom, do my business, and as I'm zipping my shorts, my torch briefly shines over the window. I, for some odd reason, looked as if expecting to see something. I didn't. I walk out of the room, and I don't know why, but I decided to look at that window again without the torchlight. I saw a shape of a large man. I went back to my room, locked my door. All night I heard foot stomping upstairs in the attic. I couldn't sleep, so I moved all of my things into a pile in the middle of the room, sat on the bed and waited for sunrise. I got a taxi in the morning and finally got the hell out of there. You couldn't pay me to go back. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. All support is much appreciated. Much love, guys.